Hey everyone, Joe from Avalon here. It's early January as I record this, and with the new year comes a new set of tax deadlines.
Oh, January 1st. Better get going on those taxes, Nettie.
I may not have started on my taxes on January 1st like Flanders, but I do have some timely info for you on tax deadlines. So in this video, I'm going to break down important tax deadlines for the upcoming year. I'll explain when you should file your tax return and when any tax payments are actually due, because they're not always the same date. So if you're just interested in a specific deadline, you can use the chapters below to jump to that part of the video. In this video, we'll be looking at personal tax deadlines, RRSP and FHSA contribution deadlines, corporate tax deadlines, and GST and HST tax deadlines as well. So all that and nothing else coming right up. All right, first up, we'll look at deadlines for personal tax returns. For non-self-employed people, commonly those who are employed and receive a T4, your 2023 personal tax return is due on April 30th, 2024. Any taxes owing are also due on the same day. So if you owe tax but can't pay the amount owing quite yet, you should still file on time to avoid penalties. You'd be charged interest on the late payments, but that's different from actual penalties you would incur for late filing. So file and pay on time if you can, or at least file on time and pay later if needed. For self-employed individuals, your 2023 personal tax return filing deadline is Monday, June 17th, 2024. Now, normally this would be June 15th, but because this falls on a Saturday, your return isn't actually due until the next business day, which is the Monday. However, any taxes owing are to be paid on April 30th, 2024. I know it's a bit strange that you are required to pay your taxes before your actual return is due, but that's just how it is. So if you aren't sure yet how much tax you owe by April 30th, you can still estimate your taxes and make a payment to avoid paying interest on a late payment. Missing the payment deadline means that you could be charged interest, but again, no penalties will be incurred unless you miss the June 17th, 2024 filing deadline. Our best advice here is to aim for having your taxes both filed and paid by April 30th, 2024, even though the return isn't actually due until the 17th of June. So if you are a self-employed individual, i.e. a sole proprietorship, and you charge GST or HST and file annually, your deadlines is the same day for income taxes. So your GST and HST will be due on June 17, 2024, but again, the balance is due on April 30th, 2024. Just a quick note here and then back to our regularly scheduled content. So we know that tax filing and bookkeeping can be confusing and a bit overwhelming if you're a freelancer. There's the worry about missing tax deductions and leaving money on the table, and you've got to make sure that you stay on side with the CRA. If you're in this situation, don't worry, we've built a course to help freelancers simplify their books and get their taxes filed. Once you have a little guidance and the right tools, you can drop the stress and reduce your tax bill. Check out the link somewhere up here, maybe here, and in the description below to save $50 on our Freelancers tax course through June 17th. Our next deadline has to do with personal tax installments. Tax installments may be required if your income doesn't have enough tax withheld from it, or they're common if you're self-employed, have rental income, investment income, or have income from more than one job. If you are required to pay installments towards your estimated 2024 tax owing, these will be due on March 15th, June 15th, September 15th, and December 15th. When you file your return, CRA will send a letter explaining your tax installments. They'll let you know how much you should pay and when. So if you overpay, you will get a refund. And if you underpay, you'll be required to pay the additional amount of tax by next year's tax due date. You can contribute to your RRSP and receive a deduction that will reduce your taxes for the year, i.e. 2023. Contribute to your RRSP by February 29th, 2024, and the contribution can be used as a deduction on your 2023's tax return. If you're not sure about RRSPs, check out the video linked in the description below that explains how RRSPs work. Next up, first-time home savings account, contribution deadlines. In 2024, you can contribute to your FHSA by December 31st, 2024, and that contribution can be deducted against your 2024 income to reduce your taxes. To learn all about Canada's new first home savings account, check out our video linked in the description below. Corporate tax deadlines are a little different than personal tax deadlines. For tax purposes, corporations can have year ends that are not December 31st. However, we can still easily figure out when your corporate tax returns and amounts owing are due. Similar to with personal taxes, your actual tax return and payment of taxes owing are due on different dates. Corporate tax return filings are due 6 months after your corporate year end. Let's clarify with a couple of scenarios here. When the corporation's tax fiscal year ends on the last day of the month, the return is due by the last day of the 6th month following that year end. For example, a December 31st, 2023 year end would have a June 30, 2024 due date. If your year end is March 31st, 2024, your return would be due September 30th, 2024. Next, we'll look at the deadline to pay your corporate taxes. Corporate taxes are due on a different date than the actual filing of the tax return. They're actually due earlier than the tax filing deadline. The short version is that corporate taxes are due 2 months after the year end. However, there is an exception that is very common where you get an extra month to pay your corporate taxes. Your corporate taxes are due 3 months after year end if the corporation is a Canadian controlled private corporation, the corporation claimed the small business deduction for the current or the previous year, and the corporation and all associated corporations had taxable income less than $500,000 in the previous year. This exception noted above is very common, so there is a good chance that your corporate taxes are due 3 months after year end. For example, let's say that a company meets all 3 of these criteria, and its year-end date is August 31st, 2023. Then its taxes are due 3 months later on November 30th, 2023. Because this one can be a bit trickier, we recommend confirming with your accountant to make sure that you've got the right dates. Lastly, we'll take a look at GST HST deadlines for corporations. The first step is to determine your filing frequency. Corporations will either be monthly, quarterly, or annual filers. Feel free to add that to your LinkedIn bio. If your corporation is a monthly filer, the GST HST return and payment is due 1 month after the reporting period ends. Quarterly filers also have a deadline of 1 month after the reporting period. For annual filers, GST HST returns are due 3 months after the reporting period ends. So even if you don't have the cash to pay the amount owing, it's a good idea to file your GST HST return on time to avoid any late filing penalties. You may still be charged interest on the late payments, but at least filing on time can keep CRA from applying additional penalties. So that's it. There you are for your deadlines in Canada for 2024. I hope you found exactly the information you needed to avoid any late filing penalties. If you found this content useful, please consider subscribing. We love helping people sort through this often confusing world of tax and accounting here in Canada. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.